Not a real big video here, just a quick thing that I think investors and potential investors need to know. Got this in the mail the other day. I don't know if it's in focus, probably not. Notice of public hearing. So the city has just announced that they're considering changes to the local Bend short-term rental STR codes. And trust me, it's not a good thing. Now we get calls all the time from people who want to buy an STR in Bend. All the time. Because A, well, we're in Bend. B, they do very well here. And C, most of the time people just want a second home or a vacation home in Bend so they can come have a place to stay when they come here. And by having an STR, that reduces the debt load because it's making money. Really, really excellent plan. We've got clients that have done that before. Good stuff, excellent plan. However, there are restrictions. Not unlike many other parts of the country, cities all across the nation are cracking down and making it harder to get these STRs. I was watching another YouTube video on a similar topic, and this investor got on there, and just before he had stepped onto this podcast, he'd gotten word that he had like a dozen rentals down in Southern California, and he'd just gotten word that the county had just voted and approved a measure that would require the owners, any owner of an STR, to only be allowed to have 2 under their name. Well, he had like a dozen. So it was a really interesting discussion. He was gonna have to figure out how to deal with that. Anyway, the point is that, STRs are a really great investment. They make really good money. But at the same time, cities and municipalities don't like them, and they've been cracking down on them. And that is certainly the case here in Bend. Now, they've been threatening a few different things for a while. Didn't seem to go anywhere before. I think I did a video maybe about a year ago on this, on a regulation that they were gonna propose. Didn't really hear anything about that, but now all of a sudden this came literally in the mail. So, if you were unfamiliar with these restrictions in the first place, let me fill you in. Currently, if you live in the city of Bend with a property and you want to turn that into an STR, you have to get a specific land use permit. And in order to get that permit, you can't be within 250 feet of anybody else who has an active whole house STR permit. So in addition to navigating HOAs, homeowner associations that oftentimes aren't friendly to STRs, almost all the time aren't friendly to STRs, you also have to navigate CC&Rs, which can sometimes have provisions that prohibit short-term rentals. But then you also have to navigate Bend's own 250-foot rule. So as you can imagine, it makes finding an eligible property to buy to turn into one of these difficult. Although I will say that Bend has a really cool online mapping tool that will allow you to put in the property, put in the address, and see if it's eligible. It'll either show up as yellow if it is, red if it's not. It doesn't take into account the HOAs or the CC&Rs, but just for Bend's purposes, it'll tell you whether or not it's eligible. That's a really cool tool. Gotta give them props for that. Point is it's difficult to find an STR eligible property. Trust me, I know, I've been looking. And now, thanks to the city, it's gonna be even harder. Okay, the proposed amendments will increase the separation distance between properties zoned RL, RS, RM, RH, and MR outside of the Old Mill District boundary for any new short-term rentals. Oh, proposal is to increase from 250 to 500 feet. Think it through. The first 2 things that I see are, 1, the remaining eligible properties out there just got cut in half, which I think is their goal here. The city wants fewer short-term rentals, straight up. Bend city councilors are doing what everyone else does. Well, that's not fair to say. What a lot of other people do when they get here. They move to town and then they turn right around, about face, and say, no one else can enter our town. Nope, hold, stop people, stop. You don't want to move here. No one else can move here. This is my town. But you just you just moved here yourself. So anyway, this will cut the number of potential new STRs roughly in half. But then also, this is interesting. Number two, I don't know if this is for 100% certain yet. This is me just kind of speculating because the city council hasn't finalized their plans and it's not very clear in the language of this thing. But if they change the code to where it has to be within 500 feet of something else, when you go to sell an STR, that permit doesn't automatically transfer. There are a few that are grandfathered in from before this first rule, but they don't transfer automatically. There is a way to theoretically have one person apply for a permit if somebody had it and they were selling. There is a way to do it to where there isn't a way for anybody to get in between and cut you in line to take away that privilege. You can't technically transfer it, but there is a way to you get yours right when theirs ends, and that does work. But technically it is a whole new permit. Now, if you're stopping one permit and starting another within a real estate transaction, doesn't that new permit have to qualify under the 500-foot rule? It is a new permit. That is really going to change things. And over time, as these properties sell, as people who are running, STRs decide that they don't want to do that and where they want to sell, I would think that statistically around half of them wouldn't requalify. So as time goes on, fewer and fewer STRs will become re-established, which could be a good thing for people who already own an STR, as long as you're not selling. But if you are going to sell it and want to capitalize on having that STR permit, which you can do now, I mean, they do sell for more. Well, I don't know if that'll still happen. I mean, if you knew that it would still qualify, that would make it a hot property because you could kind of transfer it. But it's very unclear and unknown if that's going to be the case, if you're going to know that you can transfer that permit. I don't know if they're going to change the online map or whatever, but there's a chance that we won't know. Now, what I would say to buyers who are thinking about getting an STR or actively looking for an STR, make the move now. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? The City of Bend's next meeting is in September. It's September 12th. And they could issue decisions on the proposal then. And I don't know how long it's going to take before that takes effect, but you're going to be glad you have one now if they do end up changing this rule. And I think the probability is probably pretty high. Also, I think for existing STR owners, this might be a good thing for you. Over time, fewer and fewer STRs will be coming to the market, and some might even be falling out of the rental pool because they no longer qualify if they sell to new buyers. And ultimately, less competition would be good for those who are already established with their rentals. Now, I have plenty more political thoughts or questions maybe on why the City of Bend is choosing to go this direction, but I'll save that for another discussion. Thanks for tuning in today, and we will see you next week. Sorry it wasn't more of a fun lifestyle like hiking video, but got to keep you informed on all things real estate here in Central Oregon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. The proposed amendment will increase the separation distance between I can't even read. The proposed amendment will, I just looked at the lights and now I'm so blinded. Directly, okay.